Hi, welcome to SBR Sports Picks. My name is Peter Loshak. Today is Thursday, December 13th, and we have UFC on Fox 31 coming up this weekend. We're going to take a look at the main card right now from a betting and odds perspective with our returning guest from the Loshak and the Bag show, Clint, a.k.a. Animarak. Animarak is his screen name in the comment section of the Loshak and the Bag show. Of course, he has proven to us his amazing abilities to predict betting value when it comes to MMA over the course of his career as a commenter in the Loshak and the Bag show. Now he's a contributor for SBR, and we do regular calls with him. Clint, a.k.a. Animarak from Loshak and the Bag show. Thanks so much for being back with us once again.
As always, happy to be here, Pete. Thanks a lot for having me on the show.
Awesome. All right, so UFC on Fox 31. The first fight that we have here is Iaquinta against Kevin Lee. Of course, these guys did meet once already, but that was in Lee's UFC debut 5 years ago. Iaquinta is just not a very active fighter. It was a ballsy move for him to step up and take the fight against Nurmagomedov in August on short notice. You know, he's an impressive guy, an admirable guy in many ways, but it just feels like Lee has the advantage here. The question is, should Lee be a minus 300 favorite? I'm not exactly sure, but there's no way I'd bet on a loss for Lee here. Iaquinta just simply isn't active enough. That's my read on this one. I don't want to bet on a fighter whose head might not be quite as in the game as it should be. But this is a big favorite line. What's your take on this one, Clint?
You know, I'm right there with you, Pete. He's a real serviceable fighter, real well-rounded, solid skill set. He's just good everywhere. He's got knockout power. He's a brown belt on the ground. I don't think that he's going to win this fight, though. I'm right there with you. Kevin Lee is the younger fighter. He's the more skilled fighter. He's more explosive. Unfortunately, I don't see a whole lot of value on this fight. I'm going to sit back and watch because I think Kevin Lee wins it, but I couldn't tell you how. Iaquinta is notoriously hard to finish. This thing could go to decision, but at the same time, I would not be surprised to see Kevin Lee get on top of him and maul him and have this thing stopped in the second or third round.
Yeah, I mean, the first fight did go to decision, but this is scheduled for 5 rounds, and the market isn't really indicating what. The market seems to be uncertain, as you are as well, Clint. The total is 2.5, slightly juiced to the under. It's about even on both sides, so the market is expecting that this fight is as likely to go over as under, and Lee a big favorite here, but we're also not seeing a lot of movement, so this is actually going to be, Clint, you usually have a play on any fight one way or another, but this one's going to be a pass for you?
Yeah, it surprised me as well. I mean, if you think about Al's last fight against Khabib, it felt like Khabib really carried him just because he wanted to feel that full 5-round fight, championship rounds type of situation. So rather than continuing to go for the takedown, getting some kind of a choke, getting the ground and pound like he usually does, he decided to stay and strike with Al Iaquinta. And because of that, he was in no danger of being stopped whatsoever. So that fight went the full 5. I'm convinced he could have finished it if he really wanted to. But do we think that Kevin Lee is on Khabib's level? Surely he's close, but I don't know if he could get the finish even if he is going for it. If both guys are 100%, this fight could really go either way, but I do see Kevin Lee winning it.
All right, great. But you see Kevin Lee winning, but not quite as likely a result enough to take him at minus 300.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't like laying that kind of juice.
Yeah. All right, so great analysis, Animarak, and sometimes, unfortunately, a thorough, in-depth analysis results in a pass, which is a little bit anticlimactic, but we love your breakdowns anyway. Let's talk about the next fight, Edson Barboza against Daniel Hooker, and I'm not sure which way you might be leaning here, but this might be another pass, because again, both these fighters, you can make a strong case for both of them, right? Hooker's on a 4-fight winning streak. He's an awesome fighter, and a win here will really, put him up there in the upper echelon as a top contender, but Barboza's, back is against the wall, and the matchup could maybe favor him a little bit. This is Barboza's last chance, kind of, to prove that he may have been down, but he's not out. I could see this going either way. Hooker has taken some money. He opened Barboza has taken some money. He opened as a small dog, but now it's almost even on both sides. Pinnacle has 106 on both sides. Bet Online 110 on both sides. So the market has this one literally priced as a coin flip. Barboza opened as the dog. Money's coming in on him, though, and now it's settled as a 50-50 shot across the board. What do you think, Animarak?
I actually like Hooker in this spot.
Mm-hmm.
He's a young up and comer. He's full of piss and vinegar, and he's coming from a fantastic camp. He trains with guys like Israel Adesanya, who's the second coming of Anderson Silva. I mean, those guys are monstrous over there. The whole camp is on the rise. They're all on win streaks. They're pushing each other. I think Barboza's damaged goods. Now, don't get me wrong. He's a legend. He's an incredible striker, but he's been finished in several of his last 2 fights. He's been finished in, and the ones before that, he took some serious damage before getting those highlight reel KOs that he does. I think it's just going to catch up to him. A guy like Hooker's going to have the kind of chin that it takes to eat a shot or two, and then he gets in there and delivers his own. And Barboza, we've seen, has a weakness for the ground, especially losing to Kevin Lee and Khabib back to back. And I think Hooker's smart enough to utilize that. Once he gets a little comfortable in there, once Barboza slows down just a bit, I expect to see Barboza on his back again, especially at a pick'em price. I like Hooker.
All right. Well, the best line right now minus 105 at Heritage. What do you make then of the money that came in on Barboza since opening?
I think it's just name value. Hooker's taking a step up in competition here, and I can absolutely see fading that. I like to take a fade on guys that are taking a step up in competition against a legend. And like you said, Barboza's back kind of is against the wall here, just to prove that he's not a gatekeeper. But I have high hopes for Hooker. I like Hooker. I like Adesanya. I love their camp and everything coming out of him. I expect he's going to pass this test with flying colors.
All right, so that's minus 105 at Heritage. Animarak liking Dan Hooker. Next fight, Sergio Pettis against Rob Font. And this is one of those fights which just has a certain result written all over it, right? And you know what I'm about to say here. Font by decision. It's a matchup that features, a lot of similarity. They're both kind of rangy strikers. And, it just feels like Font should have the edge here, but it's likely to go the distance. The over 2.5 rounds is minus 210. The under is at plus 175. One way or another, I think that Font is going to get the win here and come out ahead on the cards. And I'm going to check what that prop is right now. But tell me if you think there's any other way to bet this fight aside from with value aside from Font by decision.
I completely agree with you. He's the bigger, stronger guy. We know Sergio Pettis is moving up a weight class, and the reason he moved down a weight class in the first place is he was too small for this weight class. Rob Font is going to remind him exactly why he moved down in the first place. I expect it to be relatively even on the feet. Pettis is going to have the speed advantage, and Rob Font's going to have the strength advantage and the power advantage. But when it hits the ground, Font's going to have the grappling advantage, and I expect Sergio will end up on his back, and that's going to be what gets Rob Font the decision win.
Yeah, and it's interesting that I'm not sure if this is a typo or not, but here at 5 dimes, Font by decision is plus 190. So we have Font to win at minus 170 approximately. Let me just check with that I'm quoting a correct line. Yeah, Font to win at approximately 170 or 160. Total again 2.5 rounds at over is about minus 208, 210, something like that. Font by decision at 5 dimes right now is plus 190. What do you make of that?
I love that. I mean, it sounds like they're expecting Rob Font to finish Sergio Pettis. And Sergio has been in there with guys like Cejudo, and he made it out without getting tapped out. I don't see Rob Font finishing Pettis in a 3-round fight. I love that. By decision at plus 190, that sounds amazing. Let's take it.
Yeah, I mean, the way the market is saying it right now is it's indicating that if Font wins, it's roughly equally likely to be by decision or inside the distance. Font inside the distance is plus 205, by decision is plus 90. Where the discrepancy comes from is Pettis. The market is expecting that if Pettis wins, it's definitely by decision and not inside the distance. Pettis by 3-round decision plus 209 at 5 dimes right now. Pettis inside the distance plus 750. So the market is telling you that if Pettis wins, it is very much more likely to be by decision than inside the distance. I'm agreeing with you. I feel like it's got Font by decision written all over it at plus 190. That's definitely good enough for me. I'll take Font by decision at plus 190 as an official pick. And what do you want here, Clint?
I'm going to come right along there with you. Okay. I'll take Font by decision there as well. I agree that if Pettis wins this fight, the only way he wins it is by decision. But like we talked about, I just think Font's going to have the wrestling advantage and the size advantage, and that'll win him the fight.
All right. And then the last fight on the main card, Jim Miller and Charles Oliveira. These guys actually did fight all the way back in 2010. And, I'm looking at this one. This is kind of the opposite. Again, we do have a big favorite here, Oliveira at minus 320, but the market is definitely expecting a finish here because of how Oliveira fights. It's probably going to be by sub if that happens. And the under 1.5 rounds is minus 125. The over is plus 105. This one feels like it has Oliveira by sub written all over it. Time just feels like it's taking its toll on Jim Miller, and Oliveira should get the finish here, right? Or not? Is minus 320 too high of a line to pay for Oliveira right now?
I think minus 320 is way too high of a line for Oliveira.
Wow, okay. Go ahead.
Oh, he's a quitter. He's got quit written all over him. He gets in tough spots, and especially if you've got a tough, grindy veteran on you like Jim Miller, he gives up sometimes. I do expect this fight to win by submission, but I would not at all be surprised if it was Jim Miller pulling it off.
Really? So would you take a shot with the under 1.5 rounds at minus 125? Let's check the props here for Miller and Oliveira. Is there any official pick you want to give here, Clint?
I'd actually like to know what the line is, just the fight doesn't go to decision. If there's a fight doesn't go the distance prop, that I think is the quickest way to play this fight.
This one does appear to have not going the distance written all over it, but you are going to pay for it. Right now at 5 dimes, you might be able to shop around and get a little bit better somewhere else, but minus 350. Minus 350 on the fight not going the distance. Miller inside the distance is plus 426. Oliveira inside the distance minus 160, which makes sense in light of the market strongly believing that Oliveira should be a big favorite here, and you somewhat disagreeing with that.
Yeah, one of the reasons that Jim Miller went on the skid that he did is because of his Lyme disease. And he showed in his last fight that he is completely over that. And he looked like a monster coming out there for a guy his age. With the line the way it is, that's too much juice for me to lay on it. I think I'll just take a value shot at Jim Miller. That line is too wide.
Okay, so inside the distance or by decision, plus 260. Jim Miller any which way is plus 260, and you'd prefer that to Miller inside the distance at plus 426?
Yeah, because if anyone is going to grind this out, it's going to be Jim Miller. And plus 250 is plenty of juice. If he pulls off the submission, that's great. I'll cash it. But if he does win a decision by putting Oliveira on his back and defending the submission, I could see that happening too.
All right, so once again, Animarak is going to take a Jim Miller to win at plus 260. Animarak and I are both going to take a Font by decision at plus 190. Clint also likes Hooker to win at minus 105. And Al Iaquinta, Kevin Lee, a pass. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you again very soon.
Sounds good, Pete. Thanks for having me. Good luck, everybody.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to our channel. Now, we've put a lot of work into producing all these free videos, so please help us out and keep all our content free for you forever by simply liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Now, not to mention, a visit to our industry-leading website will warm the hearts of all our SBR employees, especially myself. Now, the links are over there to the left, so do check those out. Thanks for watching.